What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 89 of the 214 Sports Show, the Billy Joe Dupree episode, the tight end for the 70s Cowboys, longtime Cowboy. Glad you could join us again. TJ Krilowicz, I'm Joseph Duffey. TJ, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Joe, and I apologize for the in the future of this episode where I kind of call you out on not introducing me. You
It's gonna
guys
be
will get it
awkward.
later in the episode if you stay tuned. But yeah, I'm doing great. Came back from Dallas with a win under my belt for Red River. So can't say that I could be happier. I was gonna say I couldn't be happier, but could be happier if Cowboys kind of ruined the weekend. But yeah, doing great still.
Yeah, yikes. What a game in Carolina against the Panthers. Cowboys found a way to not exactly stop their former Cowboy Rico Dowdle, who was vowing to, kind of send a message to his former team, Jerry Jones's ball club. But we had the opportunity to speak with an MMJ, a guy who's a lifetime Washington Commanders fan who the Cowboys are playing this week. It's a rivalry rekindled recently with Jaden Daniels taking him and Dan Quinn's squad to the NFC Championship last year. We get another edition of it this Sunday, 3:25 Central. Here's Ryan Hopper. He's on Channel 3, ABC affiliate in Corpus Christi, Texas, lifetime Commanders fan. Here's our conversation with him. All right, so we're pleased to be joined with, now in the Commanders week, member of Channel 3 News, the ABC affiliate in Corpus Christi, Texas, the
Oh, I
very
got the
own,
shirt for it.
yeah,
Yeah,
Ryan Hopper, also
that was not planned.
lifelong Washington fan, formerly the Redskins, now the
Oh,
Commanders. You see him wearing the Redskins. Oh yeah,
so sorry we got that disgusting act on
you
live
gotta scratch
television.
that. You gotta scratch that. Sorry. Bleep that out. Hit the cuss button. My bad. But yeah, glad to have Ryan Hopper join with us. We met Ryan back at our undergrad. I'm now gone from there, but TJ is still there at the University of Texas at Austin. Met in the organization Texas Student Television Sports, was our student broadcasting organization, and Ryan was one of the best. So glad you can join, Ryan.
One of the best. Wow, that's high praise coming from the Joseph Duffey. Joe and I were
You
calling a
got your
game
jerseys in the
once.
rafters.
We Joe and I were calling a game once, and remember that, Joe, in the Peace Room, and the Texas was playing St. Joseph's, and I
Oh, that's
introduced
so
him.
funny.
I introduced Joe as, and I have another St. Joseph here right next to me. It's Mr. Joseph Duffy. So that's high praise.
I can't believe we did that, honestly.
That
I
was
cannot believe we did
crazy.
that. That was like, is that going on a year ago at this point? It's probably like 10 months ago at this point
Getting there
because we were
because it
trying
was
to.
that was an early season December college basketball tournament, and we were calling it on an illegal stream delay
We were commentating on crack streams, bro.
onto YouTube. TJ, it was
This is
ridiculous.
so good. I need to go back and
All I
listen to
hear
it.
is crack
It's
streams.
definitely on
That's all I
YouTube.
need to know.
No,
It's
but like
definitely.
we put effort into
Oh,
it.
we put work into it. We prepped. Oh,
We
we had
did.
like
We
we
had the
had like the
sheets,
stats
yeah.
on
Oh,
the
no,
side.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, I cannot believe we did that. But yeah,
And the way Joe gets to geek out about Texas high school football, not that I don't do that now too, but I didn't grow up here. I was geeking out on him with East Coast high school basketball powers because I knew where like all the St. Joseph's people went to school because I like played them or I played against AAU whatever. So anyway,
But yeah, I did appreciate that nod for sure. The St. Joseph's and St. Joe's nod before we actually dove into the call. But glad you could be here, Ryan. Again, Ryan is a reporter for an MMJ for Channel 3 News, the ABC affiliate in Corpus Christi, Texas. Has quite the future laid out for him. Just he's an all-around great person. Love to speak with this guy, talk ball with him, and that's what
Hey,
we're
we
gonna
gotta
do.
lay off this real quick. He's a Commanders fan. Anyway, we gotta mention that. All right.
Yeah,
no, but
lifelong.
again, I grew up there. I'm from my hometown is Alexandria,
Okay.
Virginia, and then I came to Texas for school. If I grew up in
Obviously
Texas,
joking.
I like Texas teams. You
Yep.
guys know how it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Respect, man.
Also,
Respect.
originally grew up a Florida Gators fan.
I
Going to
did.
Texas would also change that in a way as well. So,
Yes.
we've worked on
Wrong
our,
school, TJ.
yeah, we've worked as well
The
on
right school to
another
me.
Hump Day Huddle podcast. If you recognize our faces, this
Yeah.
Hump Day Huddle talking Texas football as of late. And
Every
so Ryan
Wednesday.
Hopper,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a little bit of a home and home podcasting that we're doing so far in
Absolutely.
this episode. Episode 89. Let's dive in, fellas, covering the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Washington Commanders. Historic rivalry, Dallas-Washington doesn't get much better than that. Seems to be rekindled as of late with Jaden Daniels just absolutely shocking the football world last year, taking the Commanders to the NFC Championship, led with Dan Quinn, former Cowboys DC, former Atlanta head coach. Let's cover these losses real quick this past
Mm,
week for both franchises. Dallas getting stunned at Bank of America Stadium in Carolina. Washington getting stunned at home against the Chicago Bears. A contrast from last year where they had the Hail Mary that defeated Chicago. Ryan, I
yes,
want
we
to start
did.
with this defeat, that tragic fumble that happened in a rain game in Washington.
So, my sources on the ground, i.e., my good friend Campbell Bright, who was at the game, claims the rain wasn't that bad because on TV it looked bad. Maybe it was just the reflection with the lights off the helmet. It looked really bad. He claimed he was not under the rare seats at what was formerly FedEx Field, is now at Northwest Stadium, that is covered. There's very few seats. He was not in one of those. He said it wasn't that bad. And remember, Jaden got away with an inexplicable non-contact fumble earlier in the game, and he got lucky that the ball bounced right back to him and then he went down. So, I've never seen, I don't think, two fumbles in a game in a Commander's uniform for Jaden. If I have, maybe it happened last season, happened once. I don't count on that happening again, but I can't say it's not concerning. And the Commanders have had a lot of bad luck, but they've also had a lot of good luck, which we'll get to later when we talk about the defense.
Yeah, for sure. And TJ, this Panthers game, man. My goodness. More of the same with this historically bad defense. Your thoughts on that Carolina game?
Well, first of all, Joe, I really appreciate the introduction to this podcast. I'm doing fine, by the way. But
This is the interview that we already introduced. We'll get to the introductions.
yeah, you're
Oh
right.
my
You're right.
Lord.
No, no, no. This is I mean, the Panthers just an astronomically embarrassing loss from the Cowboys, and you talk about the Rico Dowdle comments. This is the Rico Dowdle game. I don't think anyone took Rico Dowdle serious. I for sure know that Matt Eberflus did not take Rico Dowdle seriously with those
Mm,
comments because it was terrible planning all around. You
mm.
kind of wish that somebody like Kenny Clark would step up and, somebody that from the Micah Parsons trade, somebody that the Cowboys thought so highly of that could stop the run defense. We're still at square one with this run defense from last season. It doesn't seem like anything has changed. Nothing has moved the needle. And the defense, just overall, just trash. And, you wish that the Cowboys could take this win because you look at the upcoming schedule, not just the Commanders, obviously, but going into November. I mean, we have a tough, tough, tough November schedule. It does not get
Mm.
easier for Dallas the rest of the season. You needed to pick up that win for any hope in the playoffs. I guess the Commanders losing Monday night and the Eagles also losing kind of gives us a sliver of remaining hope to be competitive in this division, but I don't see where you can hold out hope in any other fashion for this team right now other than the offense. It's good, but when the defense can't complement it, there's really no point in hoping that this team can make it far.
But
Man,
I'll say this, don't despair too much this week specifically, because at least for the start of this season, we've been afflicted by a similar thing. It's just because this defense has had, in 6 games, has had 3 touchdowns against it called back for penalties that were behind the play that had nothing to do with the outcome of the play. 3 times the Commanders have been bailed out. The defensive numbers look a little bit better than the underlying ones. This is still a Commanders unit, bottom quarter of the league in every major defensive category except third down and against the run. They've improved a little bit since last year against the run. And I think it's partly because we gave Dante Fowler to y'all. We let Dante Fowler walk. He's a great pass rusher, but he flies up the field with no real regard to gap integrity a lot, and he gets some sacks, but when he's not producing, it's a liability.
Dante Fowler with a career high 11 and a half sacks, I believe, last season with Washington was a big part in that turnaround. And perhaps nobody was more happy this past week than Philadelphia Eagles fans after getting embarrassed on Thursday Night Football. Washington and Dallas both lost. And like you were saying, TJ, I did not
Devil
expect Rico
magic.
Dowdle to do that at
Oh
all.
man.
I didn't expect him to back up back-to-back weeks now with 200 plus rushing yards. I mean, Jerry Jones was saying, shiver me timbers basically when he tried to say that it could be a revenge game essentially playing his old team, and the guy delivered. I tip my cap to him for sure. He delivered. Bryce Young found a way to move the chains in that key 4th down and 3, which I thought was a little bit too much cushion, but as you saw, they're trying to bait that throw in the slot, move the chains, they end the game with a field goal. Let's move on talking about maybe some key returns here. I'll start with you, Ryan. Terry McLaurin got hurt a few weeks ago with a quadricep injury, trying to
Mm.
dive for, a touchdown chance against the Raiders. He has a chance, though, to come back along with CeeDee Lamb of the Cowboys. Do you think this can make a big difference for Washington if he's able to come back in Dallas?
Well, of course. I mean, having two your all pro receiver back for either team is going to make a massive difference. I have one question, Joe. Did the phrase shiver me timbers actually leave Jerry Jones' mouth?
No, he didn't, but
Oh my gosh.
what he was saying
I was
was,
going to run to find that
You can
clip after
actually,
we were
yeah,
done
you can
recording.
actually claim that he said that, and I would believe you because that's just something that Jerry would say.
No, but like in his voice, that would
shiver
be
me timbers. What he was
shiver me
saying, I
timbers.
believe the quote was,
The classic.
Rico Dowdle had that one quote saying that he can't wait to play his old team, and Jerry was like, "Oh man, I just consulted our guys, and they just told me they're scared to death about what's about to happen to Rico Dowdle playing them again, or something like that." It was very tongue in cheek, but it felt like he was saying like "shiver me timbers," like I can't wait to play against Rico Dowdle, who we let go.
And then Uncle Rico fried him up.
Yeah, somehow,
Still taking
Fried him
unbelievable.
Javante
up.
over Rico any day. I don't care, but I mean,
Oh,
this is
yeah,
the thing,
I'm fine with
You
it.
wish
I'm
that
content with it.
he could produce like that when he was in a Cowboys uniform. It's like the same scenario for me with like Kristaps Porzingis in the finals. Like, why was he so good against the Mavs? He never tried that hard in the Mavericks
To
uniform.
be
Well, it's the
fair,
same with Rico
Rico,
Dowdle, man. What's going on here?
he turned up a little
Well,
bit towards the end of the season last year.
well,
I'll give him some credit.
Give him a
there was a
little,
cultural
just a
problem
little.
there. Like McCarthy was losing the locker room because I feel like what happens to y'all's teams is the coach eventually gets undermined to such a degree that influential players bypass the coach and go to ownership, which also I'm familiar with from the Snyder years because stuff like that used to happen. And it just leads to dysfunction and chaos.
Well, as it
There's
stands,
definitely a lot
Terry
of dysfunction and
McLaurin,
chaos.
yeah, for sure, both dysfunctional organizations that we've had to
Can't wait
watch
for
for the
the
majority of our
Yes.
lives.
I
But
can't wait for the
Terry
yearly
McLaurin,
article to drop. Sorry. Okay, well, let's go. Let's go. Let's keep it going. Sorry.
I was gonna say Terry McLaurin questionable as it stands to
Yeah.
play on Sunday. CeeDee Lamb actually returned to practice on Wednesday afternoon and is expected to return against Washington. TJ, your thoughts on CD returning after that crazy ankle injury on the rush play outside against Chicago?
Yeah, I mean we don't need to talk about that injury again. It's very,
Mm.
very, just on par with the Cowboys to do something like that. Um, I mean, I want to see the land back sooner than later, mostly because I think that this is a critical stretch, and having George Pickens as a number one wide receiver and a contract year is not going to look good for the Cowboys in the offseason. We need somebody to complement George Pickens right now. Obviously, we've had good compliments with George Pickens. Ryan Flournoy has shown up, especially with the New Jersey, New York Jets. And
They play New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean that is true. They do
Yeah,
play
I
in New
mean,
Jersey,
like,
so
yeah,
technically I am right there. But
yeah.
um, you know, we have the complementary receivers. Obviously, Turpin and Tolbert are able to make plays every now and then, but without CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens is just a man on an island right now. It's so obvious that he is the dominant, wide receiver number one. So getting CeeDee Lamb back sooner than later, obviously not just because he averages 100 yards per game receiving wise, but just getting him back so we could, have some people that can complement George Pickens nicely. Yeah, we need him back, obviously.
Oh yeah, I mean, what more could you ask for with your all-pro receiver? Now, I
We
bet the
still have
Cowboys,
Pickens, though.
and the
We
thing
don't
is,
have any type of threat like that right now. And don't try to tell me Debo
I was about
Samuel.
to
I was
say,
gonna say Debo
Now,
your
Samuel.
leading receiver,
no,
Debo Samuel.
no. Debo Samuel is very hard to bring down. But at this stage of his career, I feel like he's not the number one anymore. Maybe, and you could say maybe he was always a great two and never a one because you don't have to plan for any game-breaking speed or any like jump ball ability like Pickens has. Like Pickens can be, throw it up there and give him a chance. And Dak, has had a lot of great footballs this year. Like best I've seen in years from Dak. So we don't have that. Uh, we got Chris Moore playing boundary receiver against the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football.
Respect Luke McCaffrey, by the way. Respect him.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Luke
It's the point right
McCaffrey's
there.
coming along. He's coming along, and his dad was a very good receiver. His brother, obviously, we know is a great athlete, but it's slim pickings. We would have killed for the Flournoy game. How do you say it?
Yeah,
Ryan
Flournoy.
Flournoy.
Flournoy,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
All I'm
So,
gonna say is if McLaurin is back, I don't know what this defense is gonna do. I
and
mean,
he
we
did
can't.
practice today, by the way.
Oh,
Just
oh
like
yeah,
CD, McLaurin practiced today, and he was limited yesterday.
oh yeah. Them dudes get healthy when it's Dallas week. You know what's happening. They're gonna magically heal up when
It's
it's
at the
ready.
Super
When they're
Bowl. It's the
oh
Super
yeah,
Bowl.
play the
No,
Cowboys in
Everybody's Super Bowl.
AT&T. Oh yeah,
well,
yeah.
no, I mean, I will
Oh,
say the local media, I think, in an effort just to get interest, no matter what the records were of the teams growing up in DC, twice every football season, it was Dallas week. The
yeah.
teams could be in the playoff hunt. We could be, 4-12.
It's so funny how that
It's
works because
Dallas week.
apparently Philly does the same thing. I never heard of blank week until like Sirianni a few years ago when they were wearing their shirts. I never heard of that because I've never heard of it called like Philly week or Washington week. I just call it like playing the Eagles, playing divisional rival. But yeah, that's kind of cool that that tradition has been passed down even throughout different head coaches and you know different regimes by Washington media, like you were saying.
Yeah.
We talked about this Cowboys defense just being just awful. 32nd in the league in almost every single metric. You kind of touched about how you haven't liked the Washington defense, and they're in the very bottom quarter of NFL defenses as well. When you look at how you're hopeful for this team come Sunday, who are favorites, by the way, Washington is favored, I believe, by 2.5 points in Dallas. What gives you hope specifically on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, first of all, on the betting note, I believe some sharp money has come in on Dallas because it is now 1.5. So
Oof.
that either signifies a lot of public money, which isn't necessarily good for Dallas, but if that's sharp money, that points well for Dallas. I have a spooky feeling about this game. I don't love our chances because a lot of things in the NFL can vary in a week to week league, but some of this poor tackling, I don't know, Joe. I don't know. The Quan Martin attempted tackle on DeAndre Swift's touchdown was high school level. It was really high school level. It was as bad as the Texas defensive back attempted tackle against Florida.
Dallas Wilson.
Yes, against Dallas Wilson. It was as bad as that attempt at DeAndre Swift. Had him on the sideline. Got to keep him there. I don't know how much of that is fixable. There has been improvement this year, like I said, against the run. There's been improvement from Marshawn Lattimore in that he's clearly healthy now. So he's getting cooked far less frequently. And Mikey Sanders still picking off a bunch of passes. The second year slot corner out of Michigan won a national championship there. Um, was in contention, I believe, for defensive rookie of the year. I believe he had 5 or 6 picks last year, has two already this season. Um, you got the unction on the line. I mean, you got Kinlaw, you got Von Miller, you got Bobby Wagner behind them. Lots of veteran experience, but you have to worry about injuries. Um, Dak and company are going to move the football.
No, it's just
I gotta,
Only
yeah.
so much can be fixed in 1 week.
I gotta say, it's just surprising to see a Dan Quinn team struggle this much on defense. Obviously, not nearly as bad as the Cowboys defense. I mean, it is a struggling unit right now for Washington, but I mean, I have to front.
More talent at his disposal though than
Yeah,
what Eberflus has. Eberflus doesn't. I don't know if he's scheming right or wrong, but he doesn't have the
Oh,
talent.
he's not scheming right. He's not doing anything right. I don't think
We
he's
have the
doing.
worst linebacker core like in the league by far. I think it's not even close.
But you
Awful
would argue,
linebacker.
but you would say
Yeah,
though,
it's
you don't have a
terrible.
lot of talent back there since losing Micah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the
And you
pass
lost,
rush. I
what's
think
his
that.
name? The nickel too, right? To free
Yeah,
agency.
Yeah,
yeah,
Jordan
Jordan.
Lewis
He was
But
sucks.
huge.
but you still have Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs who have had historical seasons in the last few years, and to have them just have their production completely drop off a cliff almost. I mean, Deron Bland not nearly as bad as Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs has been terrible this
Yeah.
season, terrible traffic cone, and so I mean, I think that there is so it is just the talent is not there. We don't have a lot of talent, but the talent that we do have on defense is just not showing up. So it's terrible. Matt Eberflus, I don't want to blame him 100% obviously, but he does not have the qualifications for this job.
Last brief topic, fellas. Is there a home field advantage this week? This is a funny question because Brian Schottenheimer was asked about the sunshine that usually happens at this time
Oh,
of day
oh,
at
no.
AT&T Stadium. 4:25 kickoff, by the way, Central Time for this historic rivalry. And as you remember, Cowboys fans, if you
Eastern
don't
time.
like,
Eastern
my
time.
bad, sorry,
3:30
3:25
Central. Yeah.
Central, yeah.
Yeah, you're on
And
Eastern time now. Look how he
I'm
changes.
out of whack. I'm
Coastal
out of
Elite,
Yeah.
whack.
Joe
You're out
Duffey,
of
I'm
the
out of
worst.
whack.
The
DJ.
Central
Look at
Oh
Time,
this.
man.
best sports time zone. All right,
Oh,
gotta
it
say it
is.
right
It
now.
is.
It
It
is.
definitely.
Yep.
I didn't know till I moved here.
I'm
No, it
going
is.
through it watching these Mariners games like in the past summer, the Rangers games playing over there in the West Coast. It's terrible. How do people do this? Anyways, 3:25 kickoff for this historic rivalry. Schottenheimer was asked, like, are you aware of the history of the sunlight complaints from Cowboys fans, from the opposition that usually comes in to play Dallas? And he's like, oh, I've never really heard of that, honestly. Like, we have the mechanisms in place to be prepared for if there's bad sunshine, but I don't know what you're talking about, really. Do you think there's home field advantage for this game for the Cowboys, who are technically undefeated so far this year at home? One game. It was that crazy game against the Giants. One game. We'll say they're undefeated for now. Had a tie against the Green Bay Packers, tied at 40. Washington is 1-2 on the road. Do you think this matters at all? I'll start with you, Ryan.
You guys would know better than me because this is y'all's team. This is y'all's home stadium. I would say it's not nothing, but it is not nearly the extent of what Washington has to work up against when the Cowboys come to town. Because as I'm sure all of you guys can see and hear on TV through the broadcast, it is a bowl game atmosphere at FedEx Field when y'all come to play us in Washington because it is generally a half and half crowd. Depending
Mm.
on team performance, maybe it's lopsided one way or the other, depending on how what the records are. That is far more significant than any kind of sun because that sun could work up against each team. And as a home team, you should know what side to defend if you lose the toss in order to plan for that for the second and fourth quarters. So that's what I would say to that.
I mean, yeah, I agree with him. I agree with you, Ryan. It is. I wish that Brian were to put notice to the blinding sun during these 3:25 Central Time kickoffs that we have, because it's brutal and it has cost the Cowboys at times. It doesn't seem like it costs the opponents too much, really. It seems like it's always been the Cowboys
It
that
always
have gotten the
is.
bad end of the stick with
Really? It's
this
just
sunlight.
like
Drop the picks
unlucky.
every time.
Like
Every
It
they
time.
just
just
happen to be going that way every time.
I don't know, you wish that you would make a home field or a home stadium that would give you an advantage, but I don't
Ugh.
know. I just can't think of any. I obviously just from a biased standpoint of being a Cowboys fan, I'm just thinking of the times that it has cost us and not opponents. I can't really think of one, but I mean, I'm gonna go with there is no home field advantage at AT&T Stadium. It's a tourist spot. It's not something that Cowboys fans, really lock down. There's years where we have been dominant at home. I think 2 years ago was one of them where we were
Yeah.
dominant until the wild card round, where we got destroyed by the Packers. And that's just what happens. There's not a staple home field advantage for the Cowboys, and so they can win those games because they're good or they're playing a team like the Patriots, which were bad 2 years ago. I know they're good now, but they were dominating against those teams. I don't think that they can, there's no. You can't bet on the home field advantage. That's what I'll say. You just can't bet on home field
Yeah.
advantage for the Cowboys because it can always, it's not going to be a huge factor. So.
No, but when it is a factor, it's not this time of year. It is a factor for y'all. When you guys are looking at, oh, when you're at that stage where you're like, oh, we're going to make the playoffs. What seed are we going to get? Which is like a first time thing for me last year because there was always a question of if we would make the playoffs or not. But you guys have had that a couple times. You guys have had a couple 12-win seasons. You guys specifically, all of the dome teams, people don't talk about this enough, really want home field advantage in the playoffs for as long as you can because just naturally, because of how human beings are and players are human beings, if you have to go to Lambeau, that is a significant advantage for the Packers. You do not want to be in the cold. If you have to go to Soldier Field, if you have to go to even Washington come January, Philadelphia come January, there's a lot of cold weather outdoor cities in the NFC. So that is where it's an advantage for y'all if y'all can get stuff at home in the friendly confines,
And
even with the sun.
and while we're on the topic, let's wrap this up. Do you have a score prediction for this another edition of this historic rivalry, Dallas and Washington? Let's hear it real quick.
Um, I will say this. Key to the game. This is the stat I texted you about, Joe. I had to drop on y'all. I'm not credited for this stat. I got this from a Commanders beat writer. We're 3-3 this year. In the three wins, all three wins, the Commanders ran for 200 total yards. And in all three losses, they did not. And that's concerning to me because in the NFL, how sustainable is rushing for 200 yards consistently, even when you have Jaden Daniels? So, with that being said, I think that is going to happen against this Cowboys front. And so I'm going to say an absolute shootout. I don't think the total of 55 and a half is enough.
Yeah.
Uh, Shootout at Jerry World, 38-35 Commanders. The offense inexplicably comes alive. Chris Moore inexplicably is another kind of big game. Luke McCaffrey, just like Cowboys fans are going to be watching, and you're going to see a guy catch the ball because of Jaden Daniels, and you're going to be like, who is that? Who is that cooking our secondary? Is that Christian McCaffrey's little brother? Like, who is this?
I
Who
think
is
I've said
Chris
that all
Moore?
season. I think I've
The
said that all
broad,
season, Hop.
the broadcast will definitely let us know.
Oh, and then you're gonna say, oh, it's Debo. There's Debo on like they check it down to him for 7 yards. He trucks a defensive back, gets the first down
Elon.
at the six.
Oh, Lord, yeah, Elam getting absolutely manhandled per usual, I guess.
I'm
Go ahead,
gonna.
TJ.
I'm not a betting expert at all, so don't take my advice, but I would put the house down on the over hitting on this game, 55 and a half. I think both teams go over 30 points, just like Ryan said. It's going to be a shootout, just for the fun, just for the laughs and giggles, since we're the Cowboys side. I'm gonna say that the Cowboys win 34-31. Brendan Aubrey seals it off with a walk-off kick.
Oh, that could be a
Ooh.
difference in this game. Matt
Mm.
Gay, early season struggles, and as y'all know, you guys have one of the best kickers of this era. So big difference there.
Well, last season, Jaden Daniels found a way to stun the Cowboys with the clock winding down in AT&T Stadium. I got a feeling he'll do it again.
That
Some
was
reason,
Mariota, Joe.
my bad, Mariota.
That
Washington
was
found a way in
Mariota.
general. That's on me. My bad. I knew I got that wrong.
Y'all beat us
Anyways,
with Jaden. Jaden is
yeah.
0-1
That was
against
a
the
low scoring
Cowboys.
game. I was very surprised how that first half went really last year. And after I saw that, I was like, man, are the Commanders for real? And then they found a way to finish well in the season. I think they find a way to win this game. Um, I do think it'll be over, as you're saying, TJ. I think it'll be an easy over. I think they win this game with the last second touchdown. I think they win 35-31.
Oh,
I'm
so
just throwing
we're
it out
we're
there.
all in the same.
Yeah.
We're on the same vicinity. I will say that last year win against Jaden Daniels was an anomaly. That's a
I
I got
football
a
mean,
game that I
y'all
feeling
don't think
took
I'll
back an
ever
onside kick.
we had to
That's a
we had to
that
get
stupid.
him
game
while
will
he was a
never be
rook.
replicated ever again.
I am so happy I was on a flight during that game. I was like, oh man, I can't watch the game. And then I see everything from my friends' group chat, and I'm like, oh, guess I'm happy I got to miss this one. So
Well, the Commanders trying to see if they can stun their rival again in AT&T Stadium. And it's a rekindled rivalry that has been so just down the past
America's
decade.
game.
America's game looking like
Yeah.
it's going to be good again. The 2-3-1 Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders who are 3-3. Hopper, before we get out of here, where can people find you? Where can the masses find Ryan Hopper?
They can find me on Twitter. Should know this off the top of my head. I believe it's at Brian underscore Hopper 31. We can get a fact check on that maybe. You can find me on Instagram. I mean, if you have TJ and Joe, you'll see me in the mutuals. Yeah, you can find me on Facebook now because a lot of people in Corpus use Facebook.
Oh,
So I got on Facebook.
oh man.
We're a little
Uh,
gray
I'm
here,
not
man.
very active on Facebook. And you can find me on the Hump Day Huddle podcast if you are a Texas Longhorns fan every Wednesday on the Horns Illustrated YouTube channel with Joe Duffey right down there. That's where you can
And we'll
find.
put
And
your links in
on
the
the K
description.
Triple I app if you want to see news. If you're interested in news, I'm not a sports reporter right now. I'm a news reporter. If you want to see Corpus Christi local news, I've done some crazy stories. KIII.com, KIIITV.com.
I'm glad you said KIII because I purposely avoided saying that. I didn't want to say K3. I didn't want to say KIII. I made sure to say Channel 3, the ABC affiliate of Corpus Christi,
TV3,
because
baby.
I didn't
Yes,
want to
sir.
mess it up. So there we go, Ryan Hopper, Corpus Christi MMJ. Thank you for joining us. Also a lifetime Washington fan. Best of luck to your Commanders. Let's get back to the episode.
Good to talk to you, Ryan.
All right, and what a conversation it was with Ryan. Really enjoyed that. Always a funny guy. Miss working with him at Texas Student Television Sports. Met so many friends there, lifetime friends, and always fun to talk ball with somebody else that, really helped pave the way for us. And we always tried to have fun with him along the way. He's doing his own thing in Corpus as well. So let's pivot over to the Dallas Stars, who just began their season last week. 3-0 in the season to start for Glenn Gulutzson. And you beat the Jets, you beat the Avalanche again, and then you beat the
Again.
Minnesota Wild. TJ, what does this start to you? Are you drinking the Kool-Aid in this new era of Dallas Stars hockey? Is it worth getting hype over? Or are you just pleased?
Oh, well, I'm just pleased. It's always a good blessing to have good hockey like the Stars, and they always play good hockey until they meet Edmonton in the playoffs, which is again what is, what could be inevitable for the season. I really hope that they can turn it around against Edmonton, but like you said about the 3-0 start, it's not just any 3-0 start. It's a 3-0 start against what you would assume would be the three most competitive teams in your division that you just got points over. You gave the Avalanche a point, but you still came out with two in that one, which you easily could have not had a single point against Colorado. I mean, just what a great start, especially considering that there's a new head coach under the block and somebody who came from Edmonton and somebody that had to, get the players bought in to his system, to his way of coaching after, a lot of these people just being so used to Pete DeBoer and also again having somebody come over from the enemy side and bring in and try to, convince them to again play his style. That's a pretty hard job. So got to give credit to Glenn Gulutzson and got to give credit to this power play. I think that that's a big reason why we've been winning. Unfortunately, not against Winnipeg. That was a big struggle with the two shorthanded goals in the third period. This is classic Dallas Stars, make any game interesting. But they pulled out with two wins in every single, in all three of the games, and that's a huge, huge bonus to start the season off because, I believe just like every other year, this division's going to go down to the wire between Winnipeg and Colorado, and of course, Dallas. Maybe Minnesota makes themselves in the mix. They look very good this year. But yeah, I mean, very, very impressive start.
I mean, it's so funny to see what Jared Bednar was saying. Like, he never wants to see the Stars again. I
They're
mean, it's just been
traumatized.
so fun, like
It's
playing
Cal
against them in the
McCarr.
playoffs for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cal McCarr had those comments saying that the playoff format needs to be changed, and I mean, they're traumatized. Gotta love it. Gotta love
And
owning the rival like that.
at this point, I guess the Stars are going 82-0, averaging 5 goals a game because they've scored 5 goals in each of their first few games. Obviously
Full
joking there, but
asterisk for the 5 against Colorado. That's a
yeah,
shootout goal,
asterisk for
but
sure. Shootout goal. But yeah, I mean, this team is going to be interesting. I'm going to do my very best, TJ, for sure, to be locked into every single game this season. You got to hold me on to that. You got to hold me on to that. I haven't always done well. I always, kind of watch more in the second half of the season. I'm going to do much better to watch this team more intently and more seriously for sure because
I'm ringing you every game. I'm
I'm
ringing you
very
right before. I'm a ring you between the intermissions too.
you're
Did
going
you
to
see
ring
that
me
Miko goal? Hey,
You're gonna
Joe.
ring me in a night that they're off, and I'm gonna just make up some BS, and you're gonna be like, "Huh? I don't think they're actually playing," and then you'll have me right there, hook, line, and sinker. But yeah, the
Got you with
Dallas
the sinker.
Stars, they play again tonight against the Canucks at 7 p.m. Central. It'll be broadcast at ESPN Plus, but also a victory. So we'll look forward for that. I guess not too much to talk about with the Stars team. Only a few
Very early
games
in the
under their
season.
belt very early in the season. Let's move on to the Dallas Mavericks, who are soon to tip off as well. Actually, next Wednesday against the San Antonio Spurs. It seems like it's always the Spurs for the tip-off game every year, playing against Victor Wembanyama. This time they'll tip off in Dallas, I believe. Are you hopeful for the Mavs this year in the first half? It's easy to say Kyrie Irving is going to be back in the second half, and you can let it all hang out there. But there's rumor that Cooper Flag may run point, and that'll bring PJ Washington off the bench into the starting lineup. How do you feel about this first half Mavs team?
I mean, putting Cooper Flag at point, it seems a little risky, but I trust Jason Kidd, just got a contract extension. I would trust him over my judgment. I haven't seen Cooper Flag not nearly as much as Jason Kidd has, so I don't know if I have much to say for Cooper Flag running point guard. I just got to wait out and see if that is a real viable option that the Mavericks can go with, because I don't mind D'Angelo Russell. I think he was a great pickup. I think that he's overhated. Lakers fans are just terrible fans in the NBA, and they like to blame all their players, regardless of how they're playing. Um, I mean, but going back to the question about being hopeful for the Mavs, are you hopeful for the Mavericks this year? I mean, do you think they're making the playoffs?
Generally speaking, I think they can make the playoffs. Now, it depends on Anthony Davis. I really hope the guy can just at least be limited with injuries. I just like how he was relatively healthy the past 2 years. And then, of course, when we trade for him, he's balling out, crazy efficient in the first quarter, and then just finds a way to get hurt. And it's like, come on, man. Guy had an eye injury too this past offseason. It's like we just can't get a break with some of these guys. And I think when Kyrie Irving gets back, I'm more of a second half believer that this team can really lock in with Klay Thompson, who is of course getting up there in age. But I think D'Angelo Russell will do a fine job for this team in the backcourt in the first half. I think that they can make the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a little confused. I'm kind of like on the wall of, I'm just on both sides here because you look at last season and it being one of the most dreadful seasons in all of sports history, the injuries, almost being threatened to forfeit games. I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of a sports team having to forfeit
Whole
games
team was
because they're
hurt.
too hurt. I've never seen that before. And so, you know, all things considered, that team went 39 and 43 and still almost made the playoffs. Um, and so I want to say that they have a really good chance of making the playoffs. But I also want to point out that this team feels way overhyped by the fan base. I feel the fan base just like, I mean, I don't know what kind of brainwashing that the Mavs PR did over this offseason, because what's this turnaround? Why is the fan base so excited for the season all of a sudden? It doesn't feel like nothing's changed. They got Cooper Flag and D'Angelo Russell in the offseason. That's it. AD's still going to be hurt throughout the season, unfortunately. I mean, I wish not. I'll knock on wood. I hope that I hope he's healthy, but historically, it would be accurate to say that he's not going to stay healthy this season. I also just don't think that it's the same team. It's the same team. And um, with Kyrie being hurt throughout that first half, that's really going to affect the team. And if they start stacking up injuries, this team that people are saying is the most, has the most depth in the league, which is not true in my opinion, is going to really start to dwindle down. We're going to have to give minutes, I don't even know who's at the end of our bench at this point. But I mean, I just, I hate to be pessimistic about the team because it feels like the energy has really shifted to, being positive for the Mavs, but I don't see how they can compete in the West. I don't think that they can compete in the West. It's a very tough conference, and it's gonna show. Hopefully they can stay healthy, but if they don't, I don't see them making the playoffs.
Dang. Oh my goodness. It feels like, the emotions have definitely changed since the Luka trade. No, I get it. I get it
Sure.
for sure. I think they can sneak in. When I say they make the playoffs, I don't think they're getting like a top three seed. I do think it's fair to say that they may not make it. They were a play-in team last year, getting bounced by Memphis in the very end. Surprised they even made it in the play-in the way that season was going towards the end with Kyrie and AD getting hurt. I think they can sneak in as like an eighth seed. At most seventh seed. I wish they just scrapped the play-in tournament. That's a whole different topic for another day. I'm sick and tired of us still having that in 2025. It's no longer the bubble, man. We can move on with this play-in tournament and do it
Yeah,
the old-fashioned way.
I agree. I agree.
But
I just think that I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm more of a prove it guy. I'm more of a, I don't like I don't like the wishful thinking because, being a Dallas sports fan, I have to say that wishful thinking has always let me down, at
oh
least
man,
90% of the time.
dang.
And if we're gonna see this team play good, or if this team's gonna make the playoffs, I need to see them play good because I'm not bought in just yet, and I believe that they can be a really dangerous team. Do I think that they can make it past the first round? Not too confident yet, but hey, if they have a good first month of the season, if they're looking like they can, they're looking like uh, they have a lot of chemistry. I can maybe turn around to this team, but I'm still traumatized.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
still a
you and
little
me both still
disappointed
are.
with
Yeah.
everything that's gone on with the Mavericks this past year, and so it's hard to
We
buy in.
we don't have that Mavs fire like we used to during that playoff
They
run
almost
against
bought me back in when they signed Dennis Smith Jr. Almost. It's right there. I was like,
well,
this might be the team.
speaking of people who got re-signed, Jason Kidd just received a multi-year contract extension. He'll be the lead man in Dallas for the next few years, so you'll know who will be the head coach for Cooper Flag's early years, as he is the number one overall pick that Dallas got to select. We thought that there was some fishy business that he may not have been selected at first because just how crazy this front office has been in this past few months or the first few months of the year, but they ended up selecting him, and it'll be the Cooper Flag show seemingly for the first few months and the rest of his career, I guess. Hopefully, he can really flourish with Dallas. So we'll move on briefly to the Texas Rangers, who introduced a new manager in town in Skip Schumaker. Bruce Bochy, as we described a few weeks ago, is officially gone, not retired officially, but as it stands, he's no longer the sheriff in Texas baseball. Skip Schumaker, the former Marlins manager, NL Manager of the Year 3 seasons ago, is now the guy calling the shots for the Texas Rangers. Your thoughts, just brief thoughts.
I don't have any issue with it. I think that it's good, Get somebody who has proven themselves as a manager before. He brought the wretched Marlins who have not just really seemed to struggle these last few years. These not these last few years, but these last like what 20 years ever since they lost Miguel Cabrera and those World Series in the early part of the century. But Skip was able to win with them. It seemed like it was the obvious choice being within the organization this last year. He's been able to learn the team, so it's not like a huge turnover from Bruce Bochy. So, I mean, I like the hire. It's going to be great. I think that the high expectations that the team's going to have, just from winning the World Series 2 seasons ago, hopefully he can live up to the expectations that they have not been able to these last 2 seasons. But I'm excited. I'm positive about this. I hope that this can inflict change in the offense. Maybe he can, light a fire under their butts and get them back to, their hitting ways and from 2023. So
It's so weird because I'll always see him as a Cardinal who was on that 2011 team. I'll always see him as a Cardinal. So it's just weird that he's now the manager for Texas. And when you look at this team, I sure hope he retains Mike Maddox. I hope Mike Maddox doesn't decide to
yeah,
call it a career as well, because what a job he did with this pitching staff. I know that we weren't
one of the
always
best
hyping
in the
up this
business.
bullpen, but it was a historic pitching season for this whole staff, and it's a shame they were able to not do anything with it. With how lackluster this offense was the entire year, and the main guys weren't really showing up like we predicted they could have, and the free agent acquisitions weren't really doing what we thought they could have either. So hopefully Skip Schumaker can really unlock what was hyped last season and what they thought the Texas could have been, because since that World Series run, it hasn't been really anything worth sharing about too much. So that's how we'll wrap up this episode, episode 89, the Billy Joe Dupree episode. Thank you for joining us. Again, we release these episodes in full length on Spotify and YouTube at the 214 Sports Show every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central. Again, Thursday, 11 a.m. Central, that we typically release these episodes in full length. We also chop up each team segment. So we talk about the Cowboys and Stars and Mavs and Rangers today a little bit. Not always the case we do that, but had the conversation with Hopper today and enjoyed talking about this upcoming game on the schedule. But again, you can follow our accounts on YouTube and Spotify, but also YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, TikTok, and also Spotify. We post a little short form content about our takes, and also Twitter, which is now X. We post our content, some of our takes that we like, maybe that you may disagree with sometimes. We had a lot of disagreements on the Rangers side of our post this past season. Some people calling us crazy and just out of our minds, but we post on the 214 Sports Show accounts as well on there. So, TJ, would you like to share your socials as well?
Yeah, I absolutely will. You can follow me on Twitter/X at TJ_Krilowicz and then on Instagram at TJ.Krilowicz.
And for me, you can follow me on Instagram at Joseph_Duffey99. It's the same on X/Twitter at Joseph_Duffey99, or you can follow on TikTok at JOE_DUFFEY. Again, this was episode 89, the Billy Joe Dupree episode of the 214 Sports Show. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.